Now, among many signs of the end times, there's something in our world that never truly subsides. It only grows. However, by now, many have become so accustomed to it that they pay less attention, while others suffer more and more. And I'm talking about anti-Semitism one more time. Imagine a crack in your basement wall and water starts coming in. It doesn't flood the house immediately. It begins as a stain. Then mold appears. Then the concrete weakens. Then the structure shifts. And one day you wake up and the foundation is damaged beyond repair. Anti-Semitism is like that. It starts with words, then a joke, then stereotypes, then accusation, then hostility, then violence. And society says, it's not that bad now. But the truth is the foundation is already cracking. Our world is changing slowly but surely. And despite all the talk of peace in the Middle East, Israel is becoming increasingly isolated, increasingly accused, increasingly treated as a burden to the nations. This is exactly what the prophet Zechariah foretold concerning the last days, the days preceding the soon return of Yeshua. He said it in Zechariah 12. I will make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all peoples. Let me share some recent, even surprising statistics with you. The first report made me feel as though we were living in pre-Nazi era. Listen to this. Last week, we read that the U.S. administration is offering asylum to British Jews seeking refuge. And the reason giving was shocking. It says, the United Kingdom is no longer a safe place for Jews. Have we reached the point where there are fewer and fewer places in the world where Jews can feel safe, as the prophets actually foretold? We're talking about 300,000 Jews in England. And sadly, the situation across the rest of Europe is no better. A major survey conducted by European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights found that 96% of Jews in the EU reported experiencing at least one form of anti-Semitism in the past year, including harassment, including insults, threat, online abuse, discrimination, and restriction on Jewish life. And this hatred is spread even in places many once thought were safe, such as the arts and cultural world. For example, Eurovision, you must have heard about it. One of the largest international music competition. It's held every May, has now become a battleground. This year, several countries have announced that they will boycott the event simply because Israel will be present, including the Netherlands, Spain, Iceland, Ireland, and Slovenia. And this is not limited to Europe. In New York City, home of more than 1 million Jews, anti-Semitism continues to rise sharply. According to NYPD, Jews were targeted in 31 hate crimes last month alone, nearly one incident per day, representing 182% increase over the same period last year. Once again, this is one of the major signs of the end times foretold by many prophets, including Jesus himself. In his end time prophecies, especially as he spoke to Israel, Jesus pointed back to the words of Daniel and the words of Joel, and warned that a unique time of suffering was coming. He said, for those days will be a time of tribulation such has not occurred since the beginning of the creation, which God created until now and never will. Mark 13:19. And there is another warning, one of the most striking of all, found among his final words to the 7 churches in the book of Revelation. There Yeshua speaks of those who claim to be Jews and are not, and who seek to uproot Israel from the love, calling, and promises of God. We often quote these passages because Jesus calls the place where such people gather the synagogue of Satan because they think they are Jewish. But have you ever stopped to ask why the warning is repeated twice? Why did Jesus single out 2 churches, Smyrna and Philadelphia, and give them the same warning? The answer is closely connected to Israel and to the rising anti-Semitism in the time in history these two churches represent. When Yeshua selected 7 churches out of the many, his purpose was not only to reveal the spiritual condition of the churches at any given time in history, but also to speak prophetically. Each church represents a distinct stage, a stepping stone, and the unfolding history in the last 2,000 years. Looking backward to the present, Smyrna and Philadelphia stand out as periods of significant movement in Israel history. Smyrna represents the era roughly between the year 100 to 315, a time when anti-Semitism intensified through the Roman Empire. Twice the Jews were asked to leave the city of Rome, in 1980 under Tiberius and 49 AD under Claudius. The first date, 1980, was when Yeshua was about maybe 25 years old. He knew of anti-Semitism. The second, 49 AD, was during the period of the New Testament writings. This hostility reached a climax with Constantine's edict, which united religion with the state during this period. While the Jewish people endured severe persecution worldwide, Messianic Jews were increasingly expelled from the churches. At this point, the two main groups of Jewish believers, the Nazarenes and the Ebionites, gradually disappeared from church history. This situation continued until the rise of the Philadelphia church, which corresponds to the period of roughly 1800 to the present. The era witnessed two remarkable developments: the return of the Jewish people to their land in 1948 and the renewed turning of many Jewish people to faith in Yeshua. As a result, Jewish believers began to reappear within the Church of God. But like Smyrna, we see rising anti-Semitism in the world and in the church in the form of anti-Jewish theology, more and more. However, silence from today's church speaks volumes. This should come as no surprise, for we are currently between the Philadelphia and Laodicea, the church of the tribulation, which is no church at all, for it is completely rejected by Jesus. But if I share these statistics and prophecies is to remind us never to forget our responsibility as Bible believers to pray for Israel and to show them love. And above all, to pray that many will come, not only from Israel, from the whole world, to a saving knowledge of Yeshua HaMashiach. And if there's one place in the scriptures where the Lord reveals how deeply he longs for his people to return to him, it is right here in this powerful book of Malachi we will open very soon. In fact, I'm very excited to share with you what is in there for us.